Micah's boots hit the porch with a slow thud, his eyes squinting against the light of the midday sun. The heat, thick and suffocating, presses on the air. He wipes a hand across his face, feeling the sweat trickle down his neck. The ranch is quiet, too quiet. A lone bird flits in the sky, but that's the only movement. The air smells like dust, like old things, things long left to rot. He reaches the door and stops. It's strange. He wasn't expecting anyone. Not today. Not ever, really. His hand hovers over the rusted doorknob. It feels too still, this moment, as if the world is holding its breath. Then he hears it. A soft knock, 3 quick taps followed by a long pause. Micah's heart skips, but he doesn't move. His feet feel planted to the worn wooden floor. The knocking comes again, a little firmer this time. He exhales, pushing the door open. 2 girls stand in the doorway. Both of them look no older than 10, their eyes wide and dark. Their clothes are worn thin, and their hair falls in tangles around their faces. But it's their eyes. Empty. Hollow, almost, like they're not really here. Something isn't right. The taller one steps forward. The other stays still, her gaze fixed on the ground. The taller one looks up, her voice calm but sharp. "Papa sent us here to die." It hangs in the air, like a weight, a confession, a curse. Micah stares at them, his mouth dry. His mind races, but his body stays frozen. The words cut deeper than he expects. He wasn't prepared for this. He wasn't prepared for any of it. His hand grips the doorframe, knuckles white. The girl speaks again, slower this time. "We're here to die, but we don't want to." She says it like it's an old truth, something she's been carrying for a long time, a truth she's been taught to believe. He doesn't know what to say. His lips part, but no words come. He looks down at the little one, still standing behind her sister, her eyes locked on the ground. A shiver runs down his spine. He can't read her face. Her silence speaks louder than anything. The tension in the doorway thickens. He could turn them away, send them back, send them to whoever it was that sent them here. But the words, "Papa sent us here to die," they stick. They dig into him deep. The girls, they don't look like the kind to lie. They don't look like the kind to beg. They just stand there, empty and waiting. Micah swallows, and for a moment, he considers it, sending them away. He's never had much use for company. He's never been one to take on a burden. His life's been quiet, simple, no one to answer but himself. But something in the way they stand there, broken, alone, it gnaws at him. The heat on the back of his neck burns, but he feels cold. His gut twists, like he's being pulled into something he can't see, something he doesn't want to see. He thinks about the ranch, the land, his land. He thinks about how he's been here for so long, alone with his thoughts and his grief. He's always been good at being alone. The ranch has always been a place where things go to hide, where time slows down and waits to be forgotten. He takes a step back, opens the door wider, and gestures toward the house. "You can stay," he says, and it feels like a mistake. It feels like the beginning of something. The taller girl looks up at him. "We're not supposed to," she says. Her voice is a whisper now, uncertain. "But we're not supposed to die either." Micah doesn't know what to say to that. He just nods, stepping aside. The girls shuffle past him, their feet barely making a sound. He watches them closely, waiting for them to say something else, waiting for the punchline, the catch. But there's nothing. Just the sound of their quiet steps as they enter the house, disappearing into the shadows of the old wooden walls. Micah closes the door behind them, the sound of the latch clicking a little too loudly. He leans against the wall for a moment, feeling the weight of it all press down on him. The heat, the silence, the uncertainty. He wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared for them. He looks out the window toward the barn, the empty fields. The dust rises in small swirls carried by the wind. Nothing out there. Just him, the ranch, and whatever the hell it is that's come knocking at his door. The small voice breaks through the quiet. The little one, her voice soft but clear. "Thank you." Micah doesn't know what to say. He just nods, the weight of their presence heavy on his chest. The house feels colder now. The silence feels deeper. He turns and walks toward the kitchen, but he doesn't feel the relief he thought he would. The house has shifted, and Micah can't shake the feeling that it's not the girls who are lost here. It's him. Something's changed, and he knows deep down that whatever it is, it's just beginning. Micah stops in the doorway, looking at the girls. They're sitting on the floor, staring at nothing. He can't remember the last time someone looked at him like that, like they knew something he didn't, like they had a secret, one too heavy to tell. He runs a hand through his hair. "You can stay," he says again, like it's an apology. He turns away, but the words stick in the air between them. "You don't have to die here." But something tells him that they were never supposed to stay, that they were never meant to survive, and that maybe is why they're here. The ranch feels different now. The silence is thicker, heavier. The walls creak as if the house itself is breathing in time with Micah's uneasy heartbeat. The girls move through the house with a quiet grace, sweeping the floors, dusting shelves. They don't talk much, only when spoken to. When they do speak, their voices sound like they belong to a place far away, like they are not quite part of this world. Micah watches them from the doorway of the kitchen. The taller one, the one who had spoken first, moves around the house with a sense of purpose, her movements sure, practiced. She sweeps the dust into neat piles with slow, deliberate strokes. The smaller girl stands beside her, silently watching. Her hands are clasped tightly in front of her, but her eyes flicker to the corners of the room as if she's waiting for something. Micah notices that their hands are clean, too clean for girls who've been living out in the elements. There's no dirt, no grime under their nails, not even a smudge on their palms. It's odd. Too perfect. Micah shifts uncomfortably. He could have sworn he heard the sound of footsteps earlier, a faint tapping of boots on the porch. But when he opened the door, nothing was there. The world outside felt still, frozen in time. He rubs the back of his neck, trying to shake the feeling that something is wrong. He turns his attention back to the girls. They're still sweeping. It's like they have been doing it for hours. "Why don't you take a break?" Micah says, his voice rough from disuse. The words don't come out as gentle as he meant them to. The taller girl stops, her broom pausing mid-sweep. She glances over at him, her expression unreadable. "We're fine," she says, her voice flat. "It's not done yet." He frowns, feeling a flicker of unease. There's something in the way she says it, like she's not just talking about the house, like she's talking about something else, something more. He opens his mouth to speak, but the words get stuck in his throat. He's never been good with words, especially not with strangers, especially not now. He can feel the weight of the silence between them like pressure, squeezing the air out of the room. It's like the land itself is holding its breath, waiting for something. For what, he's not sure. The girls don't seem bothered by it. In fact, they seem comfortable in the silence, as if they've lived with it their whole lives. Micah isn't sure if he's more unsettled by their quiet or by how familiar it feels. How the stillness of this house, this land, feels like a part of them too. He turns away, trying to shake off the discomfort that's crept into his bones. He steps outside, needing to breathe, needing to feel something other than the oppressive quiet of the house. The sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the porch. Micah squints into the fading light, his gaze drifting to the barn, the old wood creaking in the wind. He's always kept it locked, but something calls him to it now, something he can't explain. He steps down from the porch, his boots crunching against the dry earth. His mind races with thoughts he can't catch, a tangle of feelings too raw to untangle. He's been here for years, alone with his past, his regrets, his grief. But now, with the girls here, everything feels different. He walks toward the barn, the familiar sound of the wind whispering through the dry grass. He reaches the door and stops. The lock is still in place, but it's colder now. He can feel it, deep in his bones. Something is waiting inside. Micah hesitates, his hand hovering over the lock. He looks over his shoulder toward the house, but the girls don't come. They're still inside, still sweeping. They haven't moved since he left. With a sharp breath, he unlocks the door. The wood groans as he pushes it open, the scent of old hay and earth greeting him. He steps inside, his boots stirring up the dust on the floor. The light is dim, barely enough to see, but his eyes adjust, and then he sees it. In the far corner of the barn, half hidden behind an old stack of crates, is a patch of disturbed earth. It's fresh, too fresh, like someone, or something, has been digging here recently. Micah's pulse quickens, his mouth dry. He can feel his stomach turn. He knows what he should do. He should turn around, walk out, pretend he never saw it. But he can't. He kneels beside the disturbed earth, his fingers trembling as they brush the dirt away. The cold, dark eyes of a shovel stare back at him. He swallows hard, backing away from the patch of earth, his heart pounding in his chest. He doesn't want to look, but he can't stop himself. He leans forward, his hands now shaking as he scrapes away more dirt, and then he sees it. A small, faded piece of cloth, torn and stained like it's been buried for years. Micah's heart races, his breath coming in short bursts. He knows he shouldn't dig any further. He knows that whatever is buried here, it's not meant to be uncovered. But something inside him pulls him closer, like a magnetic force, drawing him in. But just as his fingers brush against the cloth, a sound stops him. A soft scrape of metal against stone. The girls. He stands up quickly, wiping his hands on his pants, the unease crawling under his skin. He closes the barn door, locking it behind him. He stands there for a moment, his back against the rough wood, trying to steady his breath. The land is holding its breath, waiting. Micah turns back toward the house, the weight of what he's seen pulling at him. He knows he shouldn't go back inside, but he does. The door creaks open, and the girls don't look up. They're still sweeping, still working, still waiting. The silence between them is suffocating, thick with something he can't name. But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't ask about the earth, about the cloth, about the dark hole in the barn. Instead, he stands there, the door half open, and watches them. And in that moment, Micah knows. This ranch, this land, the girls, they all carry secrets too heavy to bear. Micah stands in the barn, staring at the patch of dirt that doesn't belong. His hands are shaking. He can feel the weight of the earth pressing down on him, suffocating him. He should walk away. He should lock the door and leave it alone. But the soil calls to him, whispers in a voice he hasn't heard in years. The shovel feels heavier than it should, its worn handle digging into his palm as he presses it into the earth. The first few shovelfuls come easy, the dirt soft and loose. But as the hole deepens, the ground fights back. It's harder now, the shovel scraping against something solid beneath. His breath hitches in his throat, but he keeps going, faster now, as if the faster he works, the faster he can uncover whatever is buried here. A sharp clang of metal strikes his ears. He stops, kneeling down to pull away the dirt. His heart beats harder now, a drum in his chest. His fingers brush against something cold, something metallic. He digs with his hands, his breath quickening. There, beneath the dirt, lies a badge. Old, tarnished, but unmistakable. He pulls it free, and his eyes widen when he sees the name engraved on it, a name he knows all too well. The name of a man who disappeared long before the land was his, before this ranch ever became his problem. The gun is next, half buried in the earth, its handle rusted but still recognizable. It's the same kind of gun he's seen the sheriff carry, the same kind of gun he's seen pointed at men too weak to fight back. He swallows, his throat dry. His fingers curl around the gun's grip, but he doesn't lift it. Not yet. Behind him, the girls stand in the doorway, their eyes fixed on him. Neither of them has moved since he started digging. They don't speak. They don't need to. Their presence weighs heavier than the earth he's just unearthed. Micah looks at the badge again. His mind churns, a dozen memories resurfacing at once, broken promises, whispered threats, a sheriff too drunk on power to see the harm he caused. The truth about his father, about the land, starts to claw its way out of the darkness. "Why is this here?" Micah finally asks, his voice cracking under the strain. The taller girl steps forward, her movements slow and deliberate. "It's always been here," she says, her voice flat. "The land remembers." His fingers tighten around the relics in his hands, but his stomach churns. "This isn't my history," he mutters. "This isn't my problem." The girl doesn't answer, but the smaller one shifts her weight, her eyes flicking between Micah and the grave. There's something about her silence that makes his skin crawl. It's too knowing, too quiet, as if she's seen all this before, as if she already knew what he would find. He pushes the gun aside and digs deeper into the earth. There's something more buried here. He can feel it. His hands brush against the cool surface of a box, a wooden one, old and worn. Micah's breath catches in his chest as he pulls it free from the dirt, the weight of it heavier than he expected. His fingers tremble as he opens the box, the hinges creaking. Inside, there's nothing but a stack of faded letters, stained with age and time. He pulls one out, his hands shaking as he unfolds the paper. The words are smudged, faded, but there's enough left for him to make out the name at the top of the page, the same name he saw on the badge. "You know him," the girl says, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "You always knew him." Micah slams the box shut, his breath coming in shallow gasps. He doesn't want to know more. He doesn't want to learn what happened here. The truth feels like a heavy weight on his chest, suffocating him. His mind races, trying to connect the dots, but the images are blurred, fragmented, and out of reach. He stands up, wiping the dirt from his hands, and looks at the girls. They haven't moved, still as statues in the doorway. The taller one doesn't look surprised. She doesn't look like she's waiting for him to ask questions. It's as if she already knows the answers, as if she's known them all along. "You knew about this," he says, his voice tight with anger. "You knew this was here." The smaller girl meets his gaze, her eyes dark and empty. "It was always here. It always will be." Micah shakes his head, his heart pounding in his chest. What the hell does that mean? What is this place? The taller girl steps forward, her eyes never leaving his. "It means you're never going to get away from it." The words hang in the air like smoke. Micah doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to fight against something he can't even understand. The ranch, the girls, the grave. It's all tangled up in a past he can't escape, no matter how far he tries to run. He looks back at the barn, at the dirt he's just unearthed, and something cold settles in his gut. He's not sure he wants to know what else lies buried here. He's not sure he wants to know what his father was involved in, what the sheriff did. But the curiosity claws at him, a need to understand, to untangle the mess that's been left behind. The ranch holds secrets, dark ones, and it's not just the girls who were tied to them. "Why were you sent here?" Micah asks, his voice low. "What's your part in all this?" The girls don't answer right away. They just stand there, waiting. Their silence presses against him, squeezing the air from his lungs. "Maybe we're all just here to make sure you don't forget," the taller one says, her eyes finally softening, though the weight of her words doesn't lessen. "Maybe that's the only reason we're here." Micah looks at the grave, at the relics, at the land that's been soaked with history. The ranch doesn't speak, not in words, but the truth is starting to settle over him, heavy and unforgiving. The questions are just beginning, and the answers may be more than he can bear. The sound of boots on dry earth cuts through the silence, a familiar rhythm that stirs something deep in Micah. He steps out of the house, his eyes squinting against the harsh sun. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of dust and dry grass. The sheriff's truck is parked at the edge of the field, its wheels digging into the dirt like they're unwilling to leave. Micah doesn't move. The sight of the truck stirs something in him, an unease he can't shake. His jaw tightens as he watches the sheriff step out, his boots kicking up dust. Sheriff Daniels. Still the same, tall, broad-shouldered, his badge gleaming in the sun. His eyes, though, they've changed. They're colder now, sharper, and they're fixed on the girls. Micah's grip tightens on the porch rail, his fingers digging into the weathered wood. The girls are inside, but Micah knows that won't keep the sheriff from noticing them. He never could keep his eyes off what didn't belong to him. "Micah," the sheriff says, his voice rough, like gravel grinding against stone. He doesn't move closer. He stands just far enough away to keep the space between them clear, but his gaze never strays from the house. Micah doesn't answer immediately. He watches him, sizing him up, but the silence stretches too long. "What do you want?" he finally says, his voice tight, controlled. The sheriff's eyes flicker to the house. The girls are standing in the doorway now, just watching. They don't move, don't speak. It's like they're waiting for something, or someone. "I came to see how things were going," the sheriff says, his tone casual, too casual. "Just checking in." Micah tilts his head, studying the sheriff. He's never trusted the man, not even when they used to work together. He can feel the tension between them, thickening the air with every word left unsaid. "You've been watching me," Micah says, his voice low. The sheriff doesn't deny it. He just gives a small nod, like it's nothing unusual. "I keep an eye on things, it's my job." You keep an eye on a lot of things, Micah mutters under his breath. A little too much. The sheriff's jaw tightens, but his eyes never leave the girls. His gaze lingers on them for a second too long, long enough for Micah to catch the flicker of something in his eyes, a flicker of recognition, maybe, or something darker. Those girls, the sheriff begins, his voice quieter now, careful. You should leave them alone. Micah raises an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Means what it sounds like, the sheriff says, a coldness creeping into his voice. They don't belong here. They never did. They never will. Micah steps off the porch, his boots crunching in the dirt. I'm not asking you for permission, he says, his voice low, almost a growl. What's your problem with them? The sheriff shifts his weight, his eyes flicking briefly to the barn. You don't want to get involved, Micah. Trust me, you don't. I'm already involved, Micah snaps, his patience wearing thin. You think I don't know that? You think I don't know what's going on around here? The sheriff's lips press into a thin line, and for a moment, Micah thinks he might say something that would finally give him the answers he's been looking for. But then the sheriff's eyes shift back to the girls and the moment passes. They're not your problem, the sheriff repeats, quieter now, almost like a warning. I don't need your advice, Micah says, taking a step forward. His fists clench at his sides, but he holds back the urge to push. I can make my own decisions. The sheriff studies him for a long moment, his gaze unwavering. There's something almost familiar about the way he watches him, like he's seen this before, seen this conversation unfold 1,000 times in 100 different ways. The sheriff's eyes soften, just a little, but the coldness doesn't leave. I'm not the one you need to worry about, the sheriff says finally, his voice low. But you'll figure that out sooner or later. Just don't say I didn't warn you. With that, he turns on his heel and walks back to the truck, his boots crunching against the dirt as he goes. He doesn't look back, not even once. Micah stands there, watching him go. His chest tightens, and for a second, he feels like he's suffocating. Like the land, like the sheriff, like the ranch itself is closing in on him, pulling him deeper into something he doesn't understand. The sheriff's words echo in his mind. You'll figure that out sooner or later. Micah takes a deep breath and looks back at the house. The girls are still standing in the doorway, unmoving, watching him. Their eyes are too calm, too knowing. Like they've seen all this before. Like they know exactly how this story ends. He walks back toward them, his boots heavy on the ground. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The silence between them is enough. He's too deep into this now, too far gone to turn back. But the fear lingers, gnawing at him. Something isn't right. The sheriff knows more than he's saying. And the girls? They're at the center of it all. They're the key to something Micah's been running from his entire life. He doesn't know what it is yet. But he will. He's not running anymore. Not this time. The door closes behind him, and the house feels even colder than before. The sun has set, leaving the ranch bathed in the eerie glow of the fading light. Inside the house, the air feels colder than it should. Micah stands by the window, staring out at the land. The silence presses in on him, heavy and unrelenting. It's been that way ever since the sheriff left. No one's spoken much, not the girls, not him. Only the occasional creak of the house settling and the distant rustle of the wind through the dry grass. Then, from the corner of the room, he hears it. A soft voice, barely a whisper. He said we were the last of us. Micah turns sharply, his heart skipping a beat. The taller girl is standing by the door, her back to him, her eyes staring at the floor. The smaller one is nowhere to be seen. He doesn't know when she slipped away, but the house feels emptier without her. Who? Micah asks, his voice rough, a question hanging between them. The man who sent us here, the girl says, her voice so quiet it's almost lost in the stillness. He said we were the last of us. Micah takes a step closer, his pulse quickening. What do you mean by that? His throat feels tight as he asks, as if he knows he won't like the answer. The girl doesn't look up. She doesn't meet his eyes. Instead, she stares at the floor, at something only she can see. We were the last ones who could help him. Her voice cracks just for a moment. But we couldn't. We couldn't save him. Micah's chest tightens. Who is he? The words come out sharper than he means, but there's no going back now. She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she shifts her weight, her fingers twitching at her side. "Our Father," she finally says, and the room grows colder. "Our Father, who made the deal." Micah stands there, his mind racing. A deal? What deal? He feels something shifting inside him, a recognition that he can't fully understand. It's like they're telling him a story he already knows, one that's buried deep in his memory, one he hasn't thought about in years. His father, the sheriff, the land. He's standing on the edge of something, and the girls are the only ones who can show him how deep the hole goes. He takes a breath, his voice softer now. "What did he do to you?" He takes another step toward the girl, but she doesn't flinch. She doesn't move at all. "He made an old bargain," the girl says, her words coming slower now, as though they're weighed down with something too heavy to carry. "An old bargain that's been passed down for generations. He didn't have a choice. None of us did." Micah's mind spins. The bargain? What bargain? What could be so terrible, so binding, that it would bring them here, to this place, to him? The thought gnaws at him, but he doesn't dare ask more. The silence between them grows, thick and suffocating. He can't help it. He steps closer, his hand reaching out, though he's not sure why. His fingers hover over her shoulder, but he pulls them back before they touch her. "I'm sorry," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could have done something." The girl doesn't respond. She doesn't even look at him. She only stands there, the weight of her silence pressing down on him like 1,000 pounds. Finally, after what feels like hours, she speaks again, her voice barely audible. "You don't know what he did to us," she says, her words sharp with something like fear. "You don't know what he made us become." Micah feels the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He takes another step forward, his mind racing. "What do you mean? What did he make you become?" He can't keep the edge out of his voice now. The girl's words don't make sense, but they feel like they're pointing to something he should have known all along. The girl's eyes flicker to the window, her gaze distant, like she's looking at something far away. "We were supposed to be the last ones, the ones who could break it. The curse, I mean. The bargain." "The curse?" Micah echoes, his voice cracking. "What curse?" "The curse of the land," she says, her voice hollow. "It's the reason he sent us here. It's the reason we were born. We were supposed to break it, but we couldn't." Her words hang in the air, sharp and jagged. Micah feels like he's drowning in them. A curse? The land? He's heard whispers, of course, whispers about the ranch, about the sheriff's family, but he's never believed in any of it, until now. Micah takes a breath, his mind reeling. He tries to keep his voice steady, but the fear rises in his chest like a tide. "What is it? What curse are you talking about?" The girl doesn't answer right away. She stares at the floor, the silence thick between them. Finally she speaks again, but her words come out slow, as if they're being pulled from her one painful syllable at a time. "It's too late now," she says, her voice barely a whisper. "It's already begun. The bargain, the curse, it's tied to him, and it's tied to this land." Micah's stomach turns. He wants to scream. He wants to shake her, demanding answers. But he can't. Something about her voice, the way she says it, makes him believe every word, makes him understand that the past, the curse, the land, they're all bound together in a way he can't break. The girl's voice grows softer, almost lost in the silence of the room. He thought he could control it, thought he could make it go away, but it won't. Not unless someone breaks it. Micah steps back, his head spinning. The weight of her words sinks in. He's tangled in something old, something that's been here long before him. And the girls? They're the key, the ones who were supposed to stop it, but never could. "I'm sorry," he says again, though the words feel empty now, hollow against the weight of what he's just learned. But the girl doesn't answer. She just stands there, her back turned to him, lost in the silence of the house. And Micah? He's lost in it too. Micah stands alone in the center of the ranch, his boots planted firmly in the dust. The wind stirs the dry earth around him, but everything feels still. The house behind him looms, its creaky walls soaked in the weight of a past he can't outrun. The girls are inside, silent as always. Their words echo in his mind, twisting together with memories long buried. His hand clenches at his side. The ranch wasn't just land. It wasn't just a place where cattle grazed and the seasons changed. It was a pact, an old promise his family made, one that had bound them to this land long before he was born. Micah's mind drifts back, and suddenly he's not standing in the dust. He's back at the kitchen table, his father sitting across from him, the faint smell of tobacco and whiskey in the air. "You're the last one, Micah," his father had said, his voice rough and low. "The last of us, the last to carry it. You can't break the bargain, you just gotta live with it." The words hit him like a punch, but at the time he didn't understand. He was too young, too naive. He thought his father was just speaking in riddles, or maybe he'd had too much to drink that night. But the older Micah gets, the clearer it becomes. His father wasn't drunk. He was warning him. He was preparing him for the truth. Micah shakes his head and blinks, trying to push the memory away. But it lingers. His father's words, the bargain, the land. His father had never said what the deal was, only that it was a debt that had to be paid, a debt that could never be repaid. And now, Micah realizes, the girls are tied to it. They always were. His feet carry him toward the barn, the weight of the truth pressing on him. He pushes open the door, the familiar creak of the wood making his heart race. Inside, it's darker than it should be, even with the fading light from the open door. The air smells of earth, of something old. The barn feels like it's been waiting for something, for someone. And now, Micah feels like it's waiting for him. He moves toward the back, his eyes scanning the space. There's nothing here but old tools, the remnants of a life that's been left behind. And then, in the far corner, he sees it. A symbol carved into the wood, hidden beneath layers of dust. It's the same symbol his father used to draw on the walls when Micah was a child, a symbol of binding, of promises made in the dark. Micah's breath catches in his throat. He kneels and wipes away the dust, revealing the full symbol. It's the same as the one on the badge he found, the same as the one the sheriff wears on his belt, the same as the one his father marked the ranch with. He runs his fingers over the carving, his heart hammering in his chest. He remembers the nights his father stayed up late, marking the land with those symbols, muttering words Micah never understood. He remembers the way his father's eyes had darkened when he saw Micah watching. "Don't you ever ask about it," his father had said. "You're better off not knowing." But now he knows. The ranch, the land, the sheriff, they were all tied to this pact, this bargain. And it wasn't just farming. It wasn't just a piece of land to be worked. It was a place of power, of binding. The girls weren't just abandoned, they were chosen. They were brought here for a reason. A cold realization grips Micah. His father's bargain wasn't just about keeping the land. It was about keeping something else, something darker, something ancient. The ranch wasn't a place of life. It was a place of death. He stands, his hands trembling as he backs away from the symbol, his mind racing. The girls, they had to have known. They were the last ones, just as their father had said. They weren't brought here to escape. They were brought here to fulfill the bargain, to pay the price. He spins on his heel, walking quickly toward the house. He doesn't know what he's going to do when he gets there. He doesn't know if he's even ready for the truth that's about to come. But he can't stop. He has to know. He has to understand. The girls are sitting in the same spot they've always been, quiet as ever. They don't look up when he enters, but Micah doesn't expect them to. They're waiting for him. They always have been. He stands there for a moment, trying to steady his breath, trying to make sense of everything. "They were never abandoned, were they?" Micah asks, his voice low, barely above a whisper. The taller girl finally looks up, her eyes meeting his. There's no surprise in them, no fear, just calm, empty calm. "They were sacrificed," she says simply. Micah feels the ground shift beneath him. Sacrificed. The word feels wrong, heavy on his tongue. She nods. To keep the bargain, to keep the curse from breaking, the land needs blood. It always has. The words hit him like a hammer, and he takes a step back, his chest tight. The ranch, the sheriff, the girls. They were all part of something he couldn't escape. A debt his family owed, a debt that could never be repaid. Micah's legs feel weak, and he reaches for the doorframe to steady himself. His father's voice echoes in his mind. You're the last one. The last to carry it. He turns toward the girls again, his voice shaking. What happens now? What happened to me? The girl's eyes don't soften, but there's something almost pitiful in her gaze. You'll have to pay too, she says. We all do. Micah stands there, his mind spinning, his heart sinking. The line between salvation and damnation blurs, and he realizes too late that he's already crossed it. The bargain, the curse, it's all tied to the land, and now it's tied to him. Micah stands in the yard, the evening air thick and still. The land stretches out before him, but it feels different now. The ranch, the house, the barn, they all seem suffocated, wrapped in something he can't name. His mind is spinning with everything he's learned. The bargain, the curse, the girls, the sheriff's warning, his father's silence. He doesn't know what to do, doesn't know if there's any way out anymore. The girls stand just outside the door, their faces unreadable, their eyes empty. The taller one looks up at him, her expression blank, and without a word, she begins to walk toward the far corner of the yard, where the old well sits, half hidden by overgrown weeds. Micah watches them for a moment before he follows. His feet feel heavy, like they're dragging him toward something he can't escape. The well, the one his father always kept covered, the one Micah had never thought twice about, always assuming it was just part of the old land, something forgotten. As they approach, the air grows colder, the shadows longer. The girls stop at the edge of the well, standing silently, their faces now turned toward him. They don't look at each other, don't speak. They just wait. Micah stops a few feet away, unsure what to do. The well is old, too old to have been used in years. Its stone walls are cracked, moss creeping up along the edges. The wooden cover is gone, replaced by a heavy iron grate. He can feel the weight of it, heavy and cold. It's like it's been waiting for him. "What's this?" he asks, his voice thick in the air between them. "What do you want me to see?" The taller girl looks up at him, her eyes distant. "You know what's down there," she says, her voice soft, almost like a memory. "You know what it means." Micah doesn't answer. His throat feels tight, and his pulse is a steady drumbeat in his ears. The wind picks up, rustling through the tall grass, but it only seems to deepen the silence between them. Slowly, the smaller girl steps forward, reaching toward the iron grate. She runs her fingers over it, tracing something Micah can't see. Her eyes flicker up to his, and for the first time, there's something in them. A spark of recognition, of understanding. "Your father's message is down there," the smaller girl says. "He wanted you to find it, to see it." Micah's heart stutters. His father's message, the one he'd never wanted to hear. He steps forward, his hands trembling, and crouches beside the well, his eyes scanning the iron grate. A flash of movement catches his attention. He looks closely and sees it, a strange symbol carved into the stone beneath the grate. It's faint, weathered by time, but unmistakable. The same symbol that had been on the badge, the one Micah saw in the barn, the same one his father had etched into the walls, the symbol, the bargain, the land. His stomach lurches as the weight of it settles on him. This was his father's doing. This was the deal that had bound their family to this cursed land. Micah reaches out, his fingers trembling as they trace the symbol. The stone is cold, too cold. His mind races, trying to connect the dots, the symbol, the girls, his father's words. The land was never just land. It was a trap, a deal made in blood, one that could never be undone. "The well is where it all started," the taller girl says, her voice flat and matter-of-fact. "The bargain was sealed here. It's why your father never left. That's why he never told you the truth." Micah's breath catches. What truth? The girl doesn't answer right away. She just stares at the well, like she's waiting for something, for him to understand, maybe. "He made the deal," she says finally. "And you—" She looks at him, her eyes cold. "You've always known." Micah's mind spins. He stands up quickly, his pulse racing. He turns away from the well, the truth dawning on him like a heavy weight. The girls weren't just victims. They were part of it. They were tied to the land, to the curse, just like he was. His father's bargain had always been about control, about power, about keeping the land, keeping the curse from breaking. Micah's heart beats harder in his chest as the realization hits him. The girls hadn't been sent here to be saved. They'd been sent to him to keep the bargain alive, to keep the curse bound. He whirls around to face them. What does it mean? His voice cracks with the weight of it. What happens now? The taller girl steps forward, her expression unchanged. You have a choice, she says quietly. You can keep us here, keep the curse tied to this land, or you can let us go. Let it all go. Micah stares at her, his breath shallow. He can feel the weight of her words, of everything she's said. He's already made a choice, whether he's ready to admit it or not. You'll never be free of it, the smaller girl adds, her voice barely a whisper. Not unless you're ready to break it all. Micah stands there for a long moment, staring at them, the girls now mere shadows in the fading light. The air feels heavy, like it's closing in on him, suffocating him. The line between salvation and damnation blurs, and he knows there's no going back. The curse is too deep, too entwined in everything, in the land, in his blood. And as the darkness settles around them, the question lingers in the air. Are you ready for the truth? Micah doesn't know the answer, but something inside him tells him it's already too late to choose. The wind howls across the empty fields, and the sun sets low behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the ranch. Micah stands outside the house, his hands buried in his pockets, staring out at the land he's inherited, the land he's tried so hard to escape. But escape never seems possible, not when the past won't let go. The air shifts suddenly, and Micah freezes. His instincts, honed over years of solitude, tell him something's wrong. A figure appears on the horizon, dark against the dying light. At first he thinks it's a trick of the eyes, the way the shadows stretch across the land. But the figure doesn't fade. It approaches, steady and slow. Micah's heart skips a beat. He knows who it is before he sees his face. His father, the man who left him behind years ago. The man who disappeared into the land like a shadow, leaving only whispers in his wake. And now, here he is, walking back onto the ranch like he never left. Micah's breath catches in his throat. His mind races and his stomach churns. He doesn't know if he wants to run, if he wants to face him, or if he wants to scream at the man who ruined his life. But there's no running. Not this time. His father steps into the yard, his worn boots crunching in the dry earth. His coat is the same one he wore all those years ago, tattered, stained with age. He looks older now, thinner, but there's no mistaking him. His eyes are sharp, cold, the same eyes that once looked at Micah with disdain, with distance. Micah takes a step forward, his voice tight. You left. His father doesn't answer right away. He just looks at him, his gaze heavy, his lips curling into something between a sneer and a smile. I never left, Micah. Not really. I was always here, in the shadows, waiting. Micah's pulse spikes, his anger rising. You think you can just come back? After all these years? After everything? The older man's gaze flickers to the house, to the girls standing in the doorway. They don't move, but they're watching, always watching. They're not yours, Micah, his father says, his voice low, almost like a warning. They're mine, and they were always meant for this. The words hit Micah like a slap. He steps back, his mind struggling to grasp the weight of them. What do you mean, meant for this? His father doesn't respond right away. He steps closer, his boots heavy on the ground, and his gaze never leaves the girls. They were born to carry the curse, he says, his voice now rough, almost regretful. The same way you were, the same way I was. Micah stares at him, his heart hammering in his chest. The girls. His mind spins. The curse? His father nods slowly, like he's been waiting for this moment for years. The land, Micah. It's always been about the land, about what we owe it, about what we've promised. Micah takes another step back, his eyes flicking between his father and the girls. The pieces are falling into place, but he doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want to face the truth of what his family has been tied to all these years. What are you saying? Micah asks, his voice barely above a whisper. What did you do to them? His father's face hardens, his eyes narrowing. They're my daughters, Micah. You don't understand. They were born to fulfill the pact, to keep the land from breaking. The curse doesn't end. It just moves, just shifts. It was never meant to be broken. Micah shakes his head, his stomach turning. So you just kept them? Kept them tied to this land, to this curse? His father steps closer, his voice low and cold. It's not just about the girls, it's about all of us. The land is bound to us, to our blood, to our promises. You can't escape it. You never could. None of us can. Micah's breath quickens. The weight of his father's words settles on him like a ton of bricks. He's been running his whole life, trying to break free of the family's hold, of the land's power. But he's never been free. Not really. The land doesn't belong to you anymore, Micah spits out, his voice trembling with fury. You left. You abandoned me. And you abandoned them. His father's gaze hardens. I didn't leave you, Micah. I left to protect you, to protect us. This land, this curse, it's not something you can fight. It's not something you can run from. Micah takes a step forward, his fists clenched at his sides. So what now? You want me to carry it? To carry the curse with you? His father's eyes flash, and for a moment, there's something almost sad in them. It's not about what you want. It's about what has to be done. The girls, standing in the doorway, are still silent, but Micah feels their presence like a weight pressing on his chest. His father's words hang in the air, thick and suffocating. He looks at them, at their quiet, knowing faces, and something inside him snaps. You think this is what they deserve? Micah asks, his voice shaking with anger. You think they were born for this, to carry your mistakes? His father looks at the girls, his expression softening just for a moment. They weren't born to be saved. They were born to be used. Micah steps back, his heart pounding. The truth crashes over him like a wave, overwhelming him, drowning him. His father's legacy, the land, the curse, the girls. They were never meant to escape it. They were always meant to fulfill it. Micah turns away, his fists clenched, his mind a storm of confusion and rage. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know if he can undo what's been done, if he can break the chains that have bound his family to this land. But one thing is clear. Whatever happens next, it won't be easy. And Micah knows that the price for freedom, for breaking the curse, might be higher than he's willing to pay. The night is quiet. Too quiet. The air, thick with heat, hangs heavy around the ranch. Micah sits on the porch, staring out at the land. The ranch feels different now, more suffocating, like the land itself is pressing in on him, demanding something. The wind is still, the trees unmoving. It's too calm, too unnatural. Then, without warning, a spark, a flicker of light in the distance. At first, Micah thinks it's his eyes playing tricks on him, but then, a crackle, a sudden rush of heat. He stands up quickly, his heart pounding, and looks toward the barn. The fire is spreading fast, a column of flames licking the sky, lighting up the entire ranch like a beacon. Get inside, Micah shouts, his voice hoarse with panic. The girls are inside, but he doesn't know where. He doesn't know where they've gone. He doesn't know what to do. His mind races as the fire grows, spreading out of control, consuming the barn, the house, the land, his father's land, his father's curse. The ranch that Micah has spent his whole life trying to forget is now burning, and he can't stop it. He can't outrun it. He rushes toward the fire, his feet moving before he even thinks. His mind is a mess, a blur of memories and terror. The fire crackles. Louder as he gets closer, the heat unbearable. He can feel it on his face, his skin, burning him, but he doesn't stop. He can't stop. He reaches the barn, but the flames are too much. They leap higher, faster than he can imagine. The heat so intense, it feels like the air itself is on fire. He looks back toward the house, toward the girls. They're still inside. They have to be. Please, he mutters under his breath. Please don't let them be inside, please. But when he turns back, his heart stops. The girls are standing in the middle of the yard, unmoving. The fire rages around them, the heat blasting off their skin, but they don't flinch. They don't move. It's like the fire can't touch them, like it's afraid of them. Micah runs toward them, but something stops him. It's the way the flames bend around them, the way they move with the wind, twisting and curling away as if they've never even existed. The fire is alive, but it doesn't burn them. They're untouched, standing still, like they've always been a part of this cursed land. "Get away!" Micah screams, his voice cracking. He's not sure if it's anger or fear or both. Get away from the fire. But they don't move, they don't even blink. They just stand there, their faces unreadable, their eyes locked on the flames. The taller one, the one who's always been so quiet, finally speaks. "You can't save it," she says, her voice almost drowned out by the crackling of the fire. "It was always meant to burn." Micah's blood runs cold. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" She doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. The fire spreads faster now, as if it's following them, feeding off their presence. Micah looks back at the barn, at the house. The smoke is rising in thick clouds, the heat unbearable. The past is burning. Everything he's tried to leave behind, everything he's tried to forget, it's all going up in flames. He looks at the girls again, his breath shallow, his chest tight. "Why?" he asks, his voice shaking. "Why are you here? Why are you untouched by this?" The smaller girl steps forward, her voice low but clear. "Because we're not supposed to leave. We're not supposed to be saved." Micah feels a rush of nausea. The realization hits him like a punch to the gut. They weren't meant to be saved. They were the ones who were supposed to fulfill the bargain, to keep the curse alive. A part of him wants to scream. A part of him wants to run. But the fire is all around him now. The heat so intense, it feels like he's burning from the inside out. He falls to his knees, his hands trembling, and as he does, something catches his eye. The badge. It's lying on the ground, half buried in the dirt, untouched by the flames. It's his father's badge, the same one he found in the barn, the same one he'd buried in the earth, the same symbol that had haunted him his entire life. Micah reaches for it, his fingers brushing against the cold metal. The fire roars louder, but the badge is still there, lying in the ashes. It's the past. It's everything he's tried to escape, everything he's tried to outrun, but it's not letting him go. His hands close around it, and the weight of it pulls him under. His father's past, the ranch's dark history, the girls, the bargain, it's all right there in his palm, and there's no running from it now. Micah looks up at the girls again, his breath coming in short gasps. The fire burns brighter around them, but they're still standing, they're still untouched. "You were never meant to escape," the taller girl says, her voice softer now, almost sad. "This was always the end." Micah's throat tightens as the truth settles over him. The ranch, the curse, the land, they were never meant to be broken. His family's pact was too strong. And the girls, they were the ones who were always meant to carry it, to keep it alive. He stares at the badge, at the flames, and feels something deep inside him crack. The past, his father's legacy, it's all here, in the fire, in the ashes, and all that's left of it is the badge. The badge that once belonged to a man who thought he could outrun his own fate, a man who thought he could control the land, control the curse. But now, nothing is left but the ashes. And Micah knows in that moment that he can't escape it either. Not now, not ever. The fire has long since died down, the ash settling over the land like a blanket of forgotten memories. Micah stands at the edge of the ranch, his eyes tracing the remnants of the barn that once stood, now nothing more than charred beams and smoldering wreckage. The air is thick with smoke, and the smell of burning wood still clings to his clothes, to his skin. But it's not the fire that's burned him. It's the truth. The one he's been avoiding, the one that's been waiting for him, always just out of reach. The girls are silent, as they've always been. Their faces unreadable, their eyes distant, like they're looking at something beyond him, beyond this place. The ranch feels emptier now, like it's lost something it can't get back. Micah turns to them, his chest tight. His mind races with the weight of everything he's learned. The curse, the bargain, the fire, and the girls. They're not just victims, they're part of it. They've always been part of it. "Why didn't you tell me?" Micah asks, his voice raw, barely above a whisper. He's too tired to yell anymore, too tired to fight, but the anger still simmers beneath the surface, threatening to break free. "Why didn't you warn me?" The taller girl steps forward, her eyes meeting him for the first time in what feels like ages. There's no fear in her gaze, only something like resignation. "We couldn't," she says quietly. It wasn't time. Micah takes a step back, his heart pounding. Time for what? His voice cracks, the weight of his questions threatening to crush him. What do you mean, time? The curse isn't just on the land, she says, her voice soft but steady. It's in the blood. It's in all of us. She glances at the smaller girl who stands silently by her side, her eyes fixed on the ground. And it's always been that way. Micah's breath catches in his throat. You were sent here, to me, to break it. The words hit him like a slap, and he stumbles back, his head spinning. No, he breathes. That's not possible. You can't be the key. You can't be... The smaller girl lifts her head slowly, her voice barely a whisper. We were never meant to be saved, Micah. We were born to be the sacrifice. Our blood, our death, it's the only way. Micah feels like the ground is shifting beneath his feet. He's not ready for this. He can't be. He thought he could save them, thought he could change something, anything. But now, with the truth laid bare in front of him, he realizes how wrong he's been. The girls, his father's plan, they were never meant to be saved. They were the final piece of the puzzle, the final sacrifice. No, he says again, his voice shaking. I can't let you do this. I can't. The taller girl cuts him off, her voice low and steady. You don't have a choice. She looks at the ground, her hands trembling. It's already started. The curse won't end unless we finish it. Micah's heart hammers in his chest. But what about you? He asks, his voice breaking. What happened to you? Her gaze flickers up to meet him. We're not the victims, Micah. We never were. We were the key to this land's hold on you. Our sacrifice is the only way to free you. To free all of us. The words sting, but they don't surprise him. In a twisted way, he'd known this was coming. The girls were never just the victims of this place. They were its instruments, its catalysts. I won't let you, Micah says, his voice hoarse with emotion. He wants to run, wants to bury his head in the dirt and pretend this isn't happening. I'll find another way. The taller girl shakes her head. There is no other way. The curse is too strong. It's in everything, in the land, in our blood, in your blood. She pauses, and when she speaks again, her voice is soft, almost sad. And it's too late for you to escape it. Micah's throat tightens. He can't breathe. The weight of it presses on him from all sides. The truth, the curse, the land. It's all too much. He wants to run. He wants to scream. He wants to make it stop. But there's no stopping it. Not now. Please, he says, his voice breaking. I can't lose you. The taller girl looks at him, her eyes softening just for a moment. You already have, she says, almost too quietly, and you will again. A silence falls between them, thick and suffocating. Micah stands there, his hands shaking, his mind a blur of confusion and fear. He doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want to accept what they're saying. But deep down, he knows it's the only way. We're not asking for your forgiveness, the smaller girl says, her voice gentle but firm. We're not asking for you to save us. We're asking you to let it end. Micah stares at them, his heart pounding. The world seems to close in on him, the land, the curse, his father's legacy. It's all too much. And yet, in the quiet space between the girl's words, he feels something shift. He's always known, somewhere deep inside, that he couldn't escape this, that the past would catch up to him, that the curse would follow him no matter where he ran. The taller girl steps forward, her hand reaching out to him. Are you ready for the truth? She asks softly. Micah looks at her, at both of them, and feels a deep sadness settle in his chest. I don't know if I can do this. You don't have a choice, she whispers. The girls take the final step. They move toward the center of the land, toward the well where the curse began. The silence between them is heavy, and as Micah watches them, his heart sinks. The ground shifts beneath him, the weight of the past, the curse, and the bloodline that binds them all. The land doesn't let go, and neither will the girls. Not now. What's in the ground is in the blood, the smaller girl says, her voice distant, like a warning. The final truth. And as they walk into the shadows, Micah feels the weight of their sacrifice, their bloodline, their curse, their fate, pressing down on him, a burden he can never escape. The land is still. too still. The air carries the scent of earth and smoke, and Micah's steps feel heavier than ever before. The ranch stretches out before him, its house looming like a monument to the past. He stands in the yard, looking out over the place that's been both his home and his prison, trying to grasp the reality of it all. The fire is gone, the wreckage is nothing more than ash and ruin. But the truth, that truth is still burning inside him. The girls are gone now, their forms barely visible in the distance, like shadows in the fading light. They are no longer fully human, their bodies hollowed out by the curse that binds them to this land. But their eyes, they still linger in Micah's memory. The warning they left him echoes in his mind. What's in the ground is in the blood. He turns back to the house, the place that has haunted him for as long as he can remember. It's no longer just a home. It's a tomb built on the bones of those who came before, his family's legacy, his father's legacy. Micah knows what he has to do. He doesn't want to, but the truth is inescapable. He walks toward the house, the weight of his father's words still pressing on his chest. You can't escape it. And he knows now. He never could. The door creaks as he pushes it open. The house smells of rot and old wood, the remnants of a past that's too dark to remember. He steps inside, his boots echoing on the creaky floorboards. The house feels different now, colder, like the walls are closing in on him. He's never felt more alone than he does right now. Micah makes his way toward the basement door, the steps creaking beneath his weight. His breath catches in his throat as he reaches the bottom. The darkness down here feels suffocating, oppressive. The smell of damp earth hits him as he fumbles for the light switch. The weak bulb flickers overhead, casting long shadows on the walls. He moves toward the far corner of the basement, where a small hole in the floor is barely visible under the floorboards. His hand shakes as he grabs the crowbar and pries the boards apart. The hole is deeper than he expected, and when he looks down, he sees it. The bones. They're scattered, broken, part of something older than he ever could have imagined. Micah's stomach turns, but he can't look away. This is it. This is what his father kept hidden. The truth. He crouches down, his hand trembling as he touches the bones. They're human, familiar in a way. He recognizes the shape, the contours of the skull, the remnants of a body long forgotten. The foundation of this house, the foundation of everything, was built on the bones of those who came before. His father's voice rings in his ears, low and mocking. It's in the blood, Micah. You can't run from it. You can't escape what we are. He stands, his breath shallow, and looks around the basement. The walls are covered in dirt, the air thick with the weight of centuries. Micah's chest tightens as the pieces begin to fit together. His family's packed with the land, with the sheriff, with the curse. It was all part of a cycle that was never meant to end, a cycle that was always going to claim him too. A soft, barely audible sound breaks his thoughts. The girls. Their figures are standing at the top of the stairs, their faces pale and empty. Their eyes look at him with something more than pity. There's something in their eyes now, something darker, like they know what comes next. You've seen it now, the taller girl says, her voice distant. You've seen what your father never told you. You're the last of us, the last of the bloodline. Micah turns, his heart sinking as the truth crashes over him. What does that mean? What am I supposed to do with this? The smaller girl steps forward, her form flickering like a shadow. You were born to carry it, born to live with it. You can't escape the blood. You can't escape the land. Micah feels the weight of their words, but it doesn't make sense. He thought he could leave it behind, thought he could break free. But now he knows. The land is tied to him. His blood is tied to it. You are bound to it, Micah, the taller girl continues, her eyes never leaving his. We were born to fulfill the cycle. And now, so are you. Micah stands there, his legs shaking beneath him. The weight of his father's legacy, the curse, the land. It's all too much. His mind spins with confusion and anger, but he doesn't know where to turn. He's always wanted to leave, always wanted to break free, but now he knows it was never possible. The blood runs too deep. A shadow falls across the basement, and Micah looks up to see his father standing at the top of the stairs, his face twisted with something darker than age. There's a coldness in his eyes, a malevolent force that Micah recognizes too well. It's the same look he had when Micah was a child, the same look that haunted him in the silence of the house. "Micah," his father says, his voice low and cruel, "you've seen it now. You've seen what we are, and you'll carry it, just like I did." Micah feels his breath catch. "What does that mean? What do you want from me?" His father steps down into the basement, his eyes gleaming with something that makes Micah's stomach churn. "I wanted you to understand," he says, his voice filled with dark satisfaction. "I wanted you to understand that you can't break it. You can't break the cycle." Micah's hands tremble as he reaches for the bones, his fingers brushing against the cold remains of the past. "I don't want this," he says, his voice barely a whisper. "I never wanted this." His father's face hardens. "You never had a choice, Micah. None of us ever did. We're bound to this land, to the blood, to the curse." And as Micah stands there, the weight of his family's legacy pressing down on him, he understands. The land, the house, the curse, it's all tied to him, and it always will be. The truth beneath the ranch has always been the same. There is no escaping it. There is no breaking free. Micah's father stands over him, a shadow in the darkness, and Micah knows in that moment that he will never be free. Not from the land, not from his blood, not from the curse. The ranch is quiet. Too quiet. Micah walks through the charred remains of what was once his home, his boots crunching over the blackened earth. The land, once full of life, now feels hollow. The flames that ravaged it have left only ash and ruin in their wake. There is no wind today, no movement at all, except for the occasional drifting smoke that still curls up from the ground. He passes the house, or what's left of it, the walls caved in, the windows shattered, the roof cindered and collapsed. It's a shell now, empty and broken, much like the man who used to live in it. His heart feels heavier with each step. The past, the curse, the bargain, they all weigh on him, pressing down like the weight of the sky. The girls are gone. His father is gone. The cycle has ended, but the cost lingers in the air like the smoke. Micah stops and looks back at the smoldering remnants of the barn. He can still hear the crackle of fire, the sound of everything he once knew, burning. It's as if it's all being erased, his father's legacy, the land's grip on him, the curse that has haunted his family for generations. And yet, it doesn't feel like freedom. It doesn't feel like a release. He walks toward the far edge of the land, toward the well, the place where it all began. The dirt around it is still scorched, the stone cold to the touch. Micah kneels down, his fingers brushing the ground. The girl's final words echo in his mind. "You'll be free." But at what cost? The land is empty now, but the cost is more than just the destruction. The weight of everything he's done, everything he's allowed, is heavy on his chest. The girls, they were never meant to be saved. They were part of the curse, part of the land's claim on his family. He thinks of their faces, their eyes empty yet knowing. They never had a choice. Neither did he. The ground here feels different, though. The weight of the curse is gone, replaced by something else, something Micah can't quite name. There's no more pull, no more demand, but there's also nothing left. He looks down at the ground, his eyes catching something shiny among the ash. His heart skips a beat as he reaches down and picks it up. It's the badge. His father's badge. Tarnished and worn, but still there, still a part of it all. Micah's fingers tighten around it as he stands, the weight of it heavy in his hand. The badge. The symbol of everything his family has been bound to. And now, it's nothing more than a relic. A piece of a life that can never be reclaimed. He stands there for a long moment, staring at it, the memories of his father, of the ranch, swirling in his mind. The badge is the last trace of the past, the last tie to the land. But it doesn't matter anymore. It's over. The curse is lifted. The cycle is ended. But the cost is still here. Micah looks out over the ranch one last time. The land is empty now, barren, and as much as he wants to leave it all behind, he knows he can't. The ranch has taken too much. It's claimed too many lives, too many souls. And he's no different. He can't change what's been done, but he can choose what happens next. The wind picks up then, a soft breeze that stirs the ash and dust, a gentle reminder of the world that still exists outside the land. Micah takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift from his shoulders, if only slightly. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what's next. But he knows one thing. He's done with this place. He's done with the land, the curse, the cycle. He won't be its prisoner anymore. He turns and begins to walk, his steps slow but steady. The badge, still in his hand, feels like the last piece of his old life, the last piece of the past he's leaving behind. The girls' faces linger in his mind, their eyes cold and knowing, but he knows they're gone. Their sacrifice has ended the cycle, and now it's time for him to leave. He walks away from the ranch, his heart heavy but his steps determined. The land behind him stretches out, empty and still. The past is gone, and for the first time in years, he feels like he's walking toward something new. The ranch is behind him now, the curse is behind him. And whatever comes next, whatever lies ahead, Micah knows one thing for sure. He is no longer bound by the past. The land is empty, and so is he. But maybe, just maybe, he's free.